views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open BXRx, BronxNet special coverage providing you the latest information, resources, services, and community efforts taking place here in the Bronx and virtually during the pandemic. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, and today is Tuesday, September 29th. Coming up, we'll learn how Community Board 6 has continued providing resources and services throughout the pandemic. Then, local arts and cultural organizations like the Bronx Art Space and ID Studio welcome us back to enjoy in-person exhibitions and their upcoming Latinx Heritage Month programming. After that, has your furry friend helped you get through these tough times? Barx joins us to share more about pet therapy and their doggy daycare located in the South Bronx. And we'll discuss Bronx tones and Bronx shapes, a new book by Bronx creative Alex Rivera, aka The Bronxer. So please stick around. Open BXRx starts now. Welcome to Open BXRx on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, inviting you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Before and throughout the pandemic, community boards have helped amplify the concerns and voices of local communities. Bronx Community Board 6 encompasses the neighborhoods of Bathgate, Belmont, East Tremont, and West Farms. Joining us now to share more is John Sanchez. He is the district manager at Bronx Community Board 6 and also a candidate for city council in District 15. Welcome, John. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today, Sanji.
Of course. And for those viewers who are not familiar, can you tell us a little bit about Community Board 6, what a community board is, and about the neighborhoods that you serve?
Yeah, well, Community Board 6, we're the most local level of government, and we represent Arthur Avenue, East Tremont, and West Farms. And we're the first line of defense when it comes to issues that you have with the city, whether it be someone having an issue with traffic, or the parks not being cleaned up, or sanitation, or just looking for employment or a job. We're the first line of defense, and we're a city agency meant to help the community.
And your work hasn't stopped through COVID-19, right? From my understanding, all the community board members are volunteers as well?
Yes, that's correct. They're volunteers appointed by the borough president, but our work has not stopped despite the pandemic. We've been doing all of our meetings remotely, but we've still been serving the community through food giveaways. We even raised $1,000 to give away grocery gift cards. And we're continuing to do our monthly civics workshops to let the community know about the importance of voting and the census.
Right. That's wonderful. John, can you share the impact that budget cuts have had on the community boards and how Community Board 6 in particular has continued despite the lack of funding?
Yes, well, the budget cuts have impacted all city agencies. As many people in the Bronx can see, you see that the parks aren't being maintained as much as they should be. That's because there were severe $100 million budget cuts. Even our community board, we had a budget cut of $9,000, which is about 5% of our budget. But this is how we approached it. We planned ahead. So we bought supplies last fiscal year for the next 2 years. So we stocked up on supplies. And unfortunately, we have a year-round paid internship program. Usually we have 4 to 5 interns. We've had to reduce that to 2 interns this semester, but we're still pushing forward and we still have 2 Bronx residents that are interning at our office.
Thanks for sharing, John. As we know, Richie Torres just became the congressman for District 15, opening up the seat for city council in District 15. As a candidate for this seat, which main issues will you prioritize, and how has your work as a district manager in Community Board 6 prepared you for this role?
Well, the top issue is going to be unemployment. We were facing 16% unemployment pre-pandemic. Now we're looking at nearly a 30% unemployment rate. So that's going to be top of line. And each city council member gets money that they can distribute to the community. I want to invest the money that I get into job and workforce development so people without college degrees can still get jobs that pay a living wage. And my role at the community board prepares me perfectly because I had to do a lot with a little. And at the city council, if I have even more resources, I'm able to do innovative ideas. So for example, having open gym nights throughout the community that I did at the community board, I could do that as a city council member. Having bold initiatives is what we need in the next city council, and having a community board that's different than the rest is what prepares me for that job.
Right. And let's prepare our viewers for upcoming elections, right, John? There's not
Yes.
just the presidential election, but we have local elections to worry about as well. As we just mentioned, city council seats are being filled and vacated. So can we just discuss the importance on voting local this upcoming election as well?
100%. We have the election in November, but June of 2021 and March, in my situation, we're going to be able to redefine the future of New York City for the next 10 years. 35 new council members are going to be elected, new borough presidents, new mayor. And I always tell people, if you want an after-school program in your neighborhood, the president isn't going to be the one to do that. It's going to be your local city council member who can impact your day-to-day life and what you see when you're walking through your neighborhood.
Absolutely. So I wanted to learn also about your monthly Bronx resume and internship workshops. Are they still going on remotely, and can people still join?
Yes, 100%. We created a partnership with Fordham University's Office of Career Services and a bunch of students from the Manresa program. And what we're going to do is monthly resume and interview workshops. 1 week is going to be a general overview on how to get a resume, how to get an interview. But then the following week, we do one-on-one individualized attention where you can get hands-on help with your resume and do mock interviews. And we're going to do that every month from now through the end of the year. And we're always going to do them the second and third week of the month, and people can still sign up.
How can people sign up, John?
Yes, they can email us at bronxcb6@bronxcb6.org. And we're also on Instagram at bronxcb6. So we definitely want people to reach out to us and get some help.
John, how did you get involved in the community board? How did that come to fruition for you?
Yeah, well, I didn't know a community board existed when I was in college. And I found out about the role afterwards. I was working for an elected official, and I started to go to all of these meetings. And I was realizing there's so much of a wealth of information that you learn from a community board. I tell people you learn more about your neighborhood going to one community board meeting than walking through your neighborhood for 3 months. That's how much information is there. And, my experience in government helped, and I interviewed, and I've had the job for 4 years, and it's been a great experience.
Right. And for those who are curious, let's discuss the importance of civic engagement, right? Why should people consider joining their local community boards, and how does CB6 help people join their community board as well?
Yeah, so it's vital that people participate in the community boards. One, so you can know what new housing development is coming into your neighborhood. Two, you can also hear monthly reports from your elected officials and what they're planning in the community. And the way we try to recruit people to come to our meetings is we have all our meetings remotely, but we have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, and we're constantly updating them so we can get people involved. And we have an active email list, more than 1,200 people, and we email them consistently. And we have to reach people where they are. We also do events out in the community to spread the word.
Right. John, can we also discuss housing in your area?
Yes.
How is that going now? I know that land use is a big thing that you discuss in community board meetings at Community Board 6. Can you just give us an update on that?
Yeah, so there's still several developments coming up in the neighborhood, and I think the biggest issue a lot of people have is that they feel like the housing that the housing that's being proposed isn't affordable for them. But I think one reason for that is because the city has some weird, outdated rules that prevent housing from being built in certain parts of the neighborhood. So as a result, it limits what's available in the neighborhood, and it jacks the price up for available rents. There's one idea which a lot of homeowners support, is that if you're a homeowner and you want to have a basement apartment and you want to bring it up to code, the city potentially could give you subsidies so you can have an extra, like a basement apartment, so that way you could provide someone a new home, but you could also get some rental income.
And should people that live in that district be worried about, things such as gentrification, displacement, things of that nature when it comes to developments that are still going on during COVID-19?
Fortunately, the developments in our neighborhood in Ward 6, we don't have luxury condos coming into our part of the neighborhood. We're a 20-minute walk from the train in either direction, so a lot of those threats of gentrification, they're not as pressing as if we were all the way in the South Bronx near Manhattan. But I think top of mind for everyone with the pandemic is there was an eviction moratorium. But the big fear people have, if we don't get aid from Congress, is what happens when the new year comes and you have to pay 4 or 5 months of back rent. People aren't going to be able to do that. And that's a big concern. And we're hoping that Congress acts so we can address that.
Absolutely. John, just about any upcoming events, meetings that the public can join virtually, and how can people stay in touch with you?
Yeah, so Community Board 6, we try to be one of the most active community boards in the city. So we're going to continue our civics workshops. That's going to be every month. We're even trying to do open gym events if it's safe for a limited amount of students, so we can have volleyball for young people to express themselves because they're going to school remotely. Best way to keep in touch with us, email bronxcb6@bronxcb6.org, and our Instagram, bronxcb6.
Thank you so much, John Sanchez, District Manager at Bronx Community Board 6, for joining us today and for giving us these updates.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
For the past couple of months, New York City has tested residents for COVID-19 and the COVID-19 antibodies, a process that has been plagued with problems since the beginning of the pandemic. Testing sites were limited in supplies, people experienced delays getting their test results, but finally, COVID-19 antibody testing is now more accessible in the Bronx. Earlier this week, the Bronx Council of the Arts, alongside Essen Healthcare, sponsored a day of free coronavirus antibody testing.
As we all know, the Bronx is one of the communities that needs the help the most in terms of testing.
Throughout the city, the Bronx was one area that was most impacted by COVID-19. Senior Vice President of Essen Healthcare, Sylvia Posada, expressed why Essen is an essential community resource during the pandemic.
Essen was one of the outpatient health systems that first went out to do mobile testing. We were one of the first in the Bronx to do it. We were able to expand our operation, and then we went on to conduct about 2 to 3 mobile testing locations on a daily basis since then, 7 days a week.
Since March, Essen Healthcare has tested over 10,000 Bronx residents with their mobile testing sites. Maria Carver is one of the many Bronx sites that were tested at the event.
It's on our duty to protect the neighborhood and our country and do our part to see if we can get a hold and stop this virus. We all have to do our part because this is our thing, not a me thing or an I thing. It's our thing.
Essen Healthcare will continue with their mobile testing sites in October. You can visit www.essenhealthcare.com to book an appointment for a free COVID-19 antibody test. Reporting for BronxNet, Ashley Tiffany.
With coronavirus spreading, people at higher risk must take extra precautions. You're at higher risk if you're over 65 or if you have an underlying medical condition. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
Welcome back. While the pandemic has increased financial pressures on museums and cultural organizations, our local arts and cultural organizations are making a comeback by reopening their doors. They now need our support to continue providing art programming and serving our communities. Joining us now to invite us back to their space and share more about how they've been impacted by COVID-19 are Sabine Schumacher, Director at Bronx Art Space, Beverly Emers, Community Liaison at Bronx Art Space, and Sandie Luna, Director at ID Studio. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Of course. First, just to start off, can we learn about Bronx Art Space first and then ID Studio and your missions, respectively?
Okay, sure, thank you. Bronx Art Space exists since 10 years. It is a nonprofit gallery that promotes underrepresented artists and curators. And in addition, we are hosting community events like book reading groups, like open mics, but also a Three Kings event every year in January. It's really a wide big portfolio of activities that are happening in addition to art exhibitions in Bronx Art Space.
And for ID Studio?
Yes, so I'll start with our mission. We are committed to the social and empowerment and the artistic development of immigrant communities through work in the performing arts. And we have been, we were formed in 2001, and we have in the last several years been working out of Mott Haven in the South Bronx, right next door to Bronx Art Space. And what we do and what we believe now more than ever is that the performing arts can be a way of building community knowledge, catalyzing collective action, and encouraging dialogue within the community, and just celebrating who we are, which we really, really need right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandie and Sabine, for sharing. How have things changed for both of these studios since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, dramatically, in one word, because our doors are open 3-4 days a week, and we had to close these doors. And that, in a way, was hard for everybody. And so not being active, not really seeing not seeing the neighborhood for half a year, not having groups meeting in our place was really hard. And we are very glad that we opened just 3 weeks ago, that we could open our doors. We just shut down, and the Mott Haven neighborhood was really hit hard by COVID too. So we had other problems also for the last half year.
And Sandie, feel free to join as well.
Sure. A lot of what Sabine has said, I can echo. And for us, things have changed drastically. I mean, in the performing arts, by definition, it's a live event, right? And one of the things that we do that's pretty unique and important to us is that we train community members in theater, in music, and in dance to perform alongside professionals. And it's difficult to do that. So what we had to do is to quickly shift gears and figure out what it is that the community needed from us and what the role of art is right now in this moment, because I think that there's so many urgent needs that it's really easy to forget what the role of art in organizations like Bronx Art Space and ID Studio, what our place is in this moment. So that quickly became a focus to figure that out. And the other thing was a big challenge was for our communities to have access to online programming. So there was a lot of content generated online, but not specifically in Spanish and not specifically for the communities that we serve, our community. So that was a big shift to quickly create content that was relevant to the people that we serve and that it was accessible to them.
And now for Hispanic Heritage Month, Bronx Art Space and ID Studio are having an exciting collaboration coming soon to celebrate our community. Can you tell us more about this upcoming program?
Yes, Sandie the word, because she is the kind of the head behind it. She's the one who reached out to me and said, let's do that.
Yes, and I think it's really important to mention that there is another important Bronx organization in the mix with this collaboration, which is Bronx Music Heritage Center. So what we decided to do is, I think more than ever, community is needed. Like we really, really, many terrible things have come out of this pandemic, but I think it's useful to think about the positive, and that it has in a way forced us to deepen the lines of communication and to really enter a much, much deeper and meaningful dialogue for this moment. And so I think one of the things we're gonna see is people working together more than ever. And so this collaboration came about in that way, out of that need. So Bronx Art Space and ID Studio have a long relationship. We're neighbors. we support each other. I mean, we admire what happens next door. Bronx Art Space has been supporting artists in our community for a really, really long time before it was popular to do so. And so we came up with this idea with Bronx Music Heritage Center to take content, existing content, and that celebrates our community, our Latinx heritage, and to use that as a way to have weekly events during this month of celebration.
And can people enjoy this programming online, or will it be in person at the studios?
This will be online, so you can go to Bronx Music Heritage Center Facebook or to ID Studios Facebook live on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And you will see some of the images from the visual artworks. And then we have a series called Cumbia for All that celebrates and asks us to remember where we come from. And that has been coupled with very beautiful concerts from Latinx artists from Bronx Music Heritage Center. And so it's a close to an hour long, maybe 45 minutes of just celebration, beautiful music, theater, and dance.
I love it.
Coupled with some visual artworks.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing, Sandie, and for our viewers to enjoy, this beautiful celebration of our community and our culture as well here in the Bronx. I wanted to tap in Beverly. Beverly's here. She's a community liaison at Bronx Art Space. Beverly, can you just tell us about the challenges of getting the community re-involved into the arts and culture space at Bronx Art Space?
Well, first of all, I just want to kind of speak to the importance of our space, which is a space that is for building community. And people would think that it's just art, but we have a very diversified, programming. We have book clubs, we have open mic nights, yoga, and we also host a lot of programming around social justice issues that are important to our local community. And it's important. So, we're working with ID Studios and other partners. Collaborations are very important. So, we talk about being neighbors. And it's sort of like, you live in a building and you need something and you go downstairs and you knock, and it's sort of like you help each other survive. And so that's what we're doing on our block. And it's been very, it's challenging at this time. Because of COVID, people are still very nervous because of the information that we're getting. We don't know if it's right and exact. So, we are thinking of innovative and creative ways to re-engage the community. And it's going to take some time. And then also probably one of the challenges, but thanks to, ID Studios, we're doing this collaboration, is, helping us go online. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we could definitely use some support in that area, but we're going to engage the community, because I walk around, that's what I do. I walk around and just kind of letting people know that we're there, because art is so important to our community because of the impact it has, right? Because of public health benefits. It's not just engaging, it really makes our community healthier. And, we've been challenged with that. So it's just way more. It's just changing. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Beverly, for sharing that. So you have a current exhibition, How to Dance, on view at the Bronx Art Space, and that's available until October 31st. Can you tell us more about this exhibition?
Yeah, we have opened that exhibition 3 weeks ago. It's a curator who formerly worked for the Hirshhorn in Washington. We are very glad that that we have this contact, and she wanted to bring that show. It's also due to COVID only videos. That is something that we don't do we don't do very often, actually. And so we have the theme of dance, and the show explores dance as fun, as awkward, as imperfect, a joyful way of moving, and while it's completely spontaneous, and sometimes you see also this Russian ballet ensemble dancing, so it's very disciplined, and on the other hand, it's totally free. I think people have to see the show. It's pretty hard to describe. And for me, it was important to also to have, again, two artists who come from the Bronx. We try to really give Bronx artists a big platform in Bronx Art Space, but we often mix them with artists. In this case, Mark Bradford, you might know, it was the artist who has done the American Pavilion at the last Venice Biennial. So thanks to that curator, we got a good name in it, and a kind of almost famous name in it, person of color who is really top notch of the art world right now. And so we try to find balance between local artists and also in between getting kind of a bigger name in it, so that we get exposed and that we get press and, you know, can go on.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Sabine. And Bronx Art Space has always been a lively communal space for everyone. So has we always have fun there when we go to exhibitions. So thank you for sharing that you're still open. Although it's not going to be the same as it was before, at least we can still enjoy the arts and cultures in our borough at Bronx Art Space and ID Studio. Thank you all so much. Before we go, it's really important for people to understand that art institutions in the Bronx need your support now more than ever. So how can people support both ID Studio and Bronx Art Space, and as well as visit the space?
Well, if I may start, we still have a fundraiser open till the end of the month. And yeah, we hope that when you go on our website or on our Instagram, it's in the bio, you click on that and you can support us and just visit our website to donate to our fundraiser.
And yes, please do that right now. Don't leave it for later. And for us, I think something that's really important right now is that people become familiar with what we have to offer. Right now, we are actually opening the virtual doors of our community building theater workshop, which is exactly what it sounds like. Community members come together to work on theater pieces, to create art together. And there's no previous training needed. You're working alongside professionals. And so I'd love to hear from some of the viewers that would like to join this. You can email us at info@idstudiotheater.org. And we'd love to hear from you. We would love for people to tune in, to give us some feedback, to really enter the conversation around what it is that our community needs right now and what it is that the arts can do to fulfill that goal and that desire. Because I think it's really, really important, and it's easy to forget that it's really integral to this moment that we don't forget the arts.
Thank you so much again, Sabine, Beverly, and Sandie, for joining us today and sharing more about all the wonderful things that are still happening in our borough in regards to arts.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Folks, you can follow at Bronx Art Space on Instagram, Bronx Art Space on Facebook and Twitter. And ID Studio, is it, Sandie, on Instagram and Twitter?
Yes, ID Studio.
At ID Studio on all social media as well. Be sure to visit Bronx Art Space, located at 305 East 140th Street, for their exhibition titled How to Dance, on view until October 31st. We'll be right back.
We know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community, and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scales of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
Reporting from BronxNet,
Hi, I'm Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., and I'm making sure that The Bronx count is my priority. That's why I'm urging everyone to fill out the 2020 census. The 2020 census is important because it would allow for the federal government to determine how much money and resources the Bronx is going to need for the next 10 years around healthcare, education, housing, roads, representation, and so many other things. What does it mean exactly? Just imagine. Imagine if you are organizing a party or an event and you send out 100 invitations, but only 50 people RSVP, and you only prepare for 50 people, and yet 100 people showed up. You're gonna be short of food, seats, tables, chairs. That's why it is important that 100% of us here in the Bronx fill out the 2020 census. It is easy, it is confidential, it doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or undocumented. We need everybody to fill it out. Now let's all get together and make the Bronx count.
Why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others.
For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people, avoid crowds, stay home if you can, wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
Welcome back. The past few months have been really tough for all of us, including our pets. Research has shown that pets feel owner stress. Here to discuss pet stress and their doggy daycare business at 111 Bruckner Boulevard in the South Bronx is Stephen A. Toledo, co-founder of Barx. Stephen, gracias. Thank you for joining us today.
Gracias. Buenos días. Thank you for having me.
Buenos dias. And for those who are not familiar, can you give us some background on Barx, your mission, and the services that you offer there?
Yeah, definitely. So Barx is actually the only full-service canine facility in the South Bronx. We offer daycare, boarding, grooming, and training services. And the way that we like to say it is we try to provide the full life that every dog deserves. So, you know, we're there, we're dog lovers, we're Bronx natives. So aquí servimos, we're here for the community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephen. And as we know, earlier on in the pandemic, your business was one of the few that, one of many businesses in the Bronx that received a mandated government shutdown back in March, I believe.
Yes.
How has the business been impacted by this hiatus? I know you were out for a while.
Yeah, definitely. So we were out for 3 months. We followed New York pause mandates from the governor. But, you know, as Bronx natives, as Bronx residents serving the Bronx community, we also recognize the disproportionate impact that our community had and experienced due to COVID. So we were more than happy to, you know, do our part, close the business for those 3 months, and really try to stem the pandemic and the impacts that it's had on our community. So thereby, you know, we protected our team, we protected our community that we served. Back on June 20th is when we were able to open up again as part of phase 2. And since then, I think, you know, we're happy to say that I think about 95% of our clientele has come back, and we're getting so many new clients coming in. So a little resurgence, and we're happy for that.
That's wonderful to hear. And now that you're back in business, how have operations changed at Barx due to the pandemic? What are some of the new processes that you have?
Yeah, so you know, implementation of like PPE, personal protective equipment, like our masks and gloves. We've upped our cleaning regimens. But I can also say that as a doggy daycare facility, we've always been regulated by the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. So our standards have always had to be almost like medical grade, because we want to make sure that all the doggies that are in our care are safe and healthy. So we have all of our screenings for the dogs to prevent their like kennel cough and other transmittable illnesses. And that kind of transfers over to protecting humans in our space against COVID. We've always had, like HEPA air filters, and we've just increased a little bit of the cleaning just to make sure that we're really on top of everything, and then masks. But otherwise, we have about a 4,000 square foot facility, which is pretty massive compared to other doggy daycare facilities across the city. So that allows for more airflow, and I think less, close person-to-person contact.
Right, so our doggies can remain 6 feet apart. They can social distance at wrong parts. So rest assured, doggy lovers and families, that your dog will be safe at Bronx Barx. Stephen, has the CDC discovered if dogs can contract COVID-19?
Interestingly, there were like a couple of cases that were almost like anecdotal right at the very beginning. I think they've more traced it to felines. Like I think there was the news announcement that like in the Bronx Zoo, one of their tigers had gotten it, but they have never confirmed the transmission from dog back to human. So, this is not an area that I think we need to really be worried about. We maintain our social distancing between people because we know that is definitely a transmission factor.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. So just understanding pet stress, during these times, it's been really tough for humans, but as our pets as well. And I've read online that, pets can sense stress. So they know when their owner is stressed out. So can we just discuss the effects of that on pets, or the effects of COVID-19 on pets?
Yeah, definitely. So, definitely I'm not going to come at it from a psychologist perspective, right? I think there's levels. What we do know is that there was a major surge in people picking up and getting new additions to their families in the form of dogs and other animals as well. But we know that the shelters kind of emptied out from their dogs. And we know that folks have bought a lot of new puppies. We kind of call them the pandemic puppies. So a lot of the new clients that we have are these new family members that were obtained during this period when people were on lockdown. There's a lot of good reasons why folks would go and get a dog at that point. You're home, you have time to kind of help them get trained and set up, to familiarize yourselves with them and them with your home and your regulations and your regiments, right? On the flip side, a lot of the doggies didn't get the socialization that they also need with other dogs, because as much as some folks want to think about them as like babies, they are psychologically different, right, than humans, and they need a different level of interaction and stimulation. So I think on that point, folks are seeing kind of the impact of having your doggy kind of secluded for 3 months, and then the additional work that you have to do to socialize them properly. Bring them, now that we have a little bit better weather and you can socially distance outside, bring them to the doggy parks, walk them outside, let them sense the environment that they really are going to be living in for the next 10, 15 years, right? And experiencing with your life. And I also think, to your point around trauma, doggies do sense, right, your energy, but they're also there to give you that kind of support. They're giving you that balance and that love. And so it's reciprocal, right? There's two sides. So as an owner, we have that same kind of onus and responsibility to protect and give our doggies that kind of love, and also to set them up for success, to set them up to be independent, so that they don't only know a world where you're in the house 24/7. Because when you go back to your more regular schedule, maybe you actually have to go to work. They're gonna have to understand that is normal. So giving them that space, giving them that time to develop their own sense of independence is really important.
That is so true. I'm a dog mom. I'm a proud dog mom and cat mom. Benji and Cheeto are my little fur babies at home. And I know that at first I was realizing that they noticed that we were staying home a little more often. I felt like they were pushing us out the house. Let us have our peace and quiet. We just want to chill, you know? But just, Stephen, can you help us elaborate or understand more the impacts of socialization, or the lack thereof, of pets, the importance of keeping them active?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple, there's the psychological, which I think we were talking about sometimes it manifests, you see like separation anxiety, or you see that trepidation, that fear when they're interacting with other dogs. And it's because, you know, they may not have had the opportunity to really see and engage with other people, other dogs, other spaces. And so the more you get them familiar and the more you do it actually critically when they're really young, that changes their mindset and it makes them more open to new experiences, right? They can take that experience. Oh yeah, I played with this dog that was 90 pounds when I was 5 pounds. Oh, they're actually cool. And that's good, right? Like, so then in the future, when they meet another big dog, they're more likely to go with their tail wagging and like playful versus like fearful, which can also turn to aggression. So you want to think about those kind of things when they're small. That's also why, you know, in places like daycares, we tell our clients, particularly our new clients, like, we know that you love your doggies and we know that you may be bringing them to the daycare because you want them to have this great experience. But it's sometimes for dogs who haven't had that experience, or if they kind of came into the world and they were only sheltered in the house, it's like going from 0 to 90, where like all the dogs that are in there, they're ready to play and they're like all different sizes. So we are very intentional about being honest with every client, let them know like, we want your doggie's experience in our space to be happy, fun, exciting, and we'll help you get them to that place. Sometimes it requires additional work on the part of the owner to do some, you know, introductions in smaller groups outside beforehand.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Stephen, for sharing that. Very great advice. I wanted to ask you what Bronx Barx looked like before the pandemic. So was there socialization among the owners as well? Was there more, you know, one-to-one, kind of like just getting to know the owners and also the dogs at the same time before?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So we always welcome everyone to come into our facility. We have an open concept. So right from the gate or even from any of the windows outside, we're on the first level. You can see from one side to the other. And so that's kind of part of our values of transparency and that honesty that kind of permeates our relationships. We have cameras throughout the facility as well. So if you drop your doggie off, you can see what they're doing throughout the day and how they're playing with other doggies and our team members. But, you know, when folks come in, we give them like our attention and we try to hear what they're aspiring to with their puppies and how we can help them. We have training classes, so some folks come in and we have that deeper relationship there. But, you know, whether it be something like a couple of training techniques that you could bring home or some suggestions on food, we are there for all of our clients. And that kind of has been consistent before and after. Now we just, you know, have a little more distance and a mask.
Are there age restrictions or can any dog of any age come?
Any dog, any age, any breed, as long as they have their vaccination records, right? So sometimes when they're really little, the vets won't give them all their vaccinations right away. So we just have to wait for that period, which is generally by 3 or 4 months. But as long as they have them, they're welcome.
Gotcha. Stephen, before we go, how can people get in touch with Bronx Barx and visit you, inquire about services, all that good stuff?
Yeah, thank you for that. So we have our website, which is www.bronxbarx.com, and the Bronx is with an X, right? And the Barx is with an X. We also have our telephone. You can always call us 718-344-3911. And my partner, husband Renzo, is our like digital media maven. So our handles are Bronx Barx. We have it on Facebook and Instagram, so you can follow us there as well.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And thank you from Benji, too. Say hi, Benji.
Benji, qué lindo. Look at all the love.
And then my cat is hanging around there all the time during virtual interviews. He's barking. So I mute myself constantly. He just wants attention, but he hears we're talking about doggies, so he's extra.
Yeah, he knew.
Thank you so much again, Stephen Toledo from Bronx Barx. We'll be right back.
Every baby deserves to take their first step. Every baby deserves.
Adopting the hashtag Bronx Babies Matter, organization Bronx Healthy Start Partnership raised awareness for infant mortality with Strollin' for Life.
Today we're here in Soundview because we want to raise awareness of the fact that more babies are dying in this community than others in the Bronx.
The Soundview community is currently experiencing the highest infant mortality rates in the Bronx. In an effort to change that, Strolling for Life provided life-saving information and tips for raising infants. According to the New York City Health Department, in 2018, the infant mortality rate declined for almost all race and ethnic groups. But the mortality rate for Black and Latino infants remained higher than white infants. Co-director for Bronx Healthy Start Partnership, Alma Idahen, says every baby deserves to see certain milestones.
Every baby deserves to see their first birthday, to have their first tooth, to take their first steps. Let's get the knowledge that we need. Let's identify the resources that we need. Let's identify the gaps that are leading to these conditions, and then let's fix it.
Strolling for Life also educate the Soundview community with demos such as this one, showing parents the safest way to care for their infants.
We have a setup here of how you should display your cribs. The first one we have is what a lot of families would do. They would pack the cribs with teddy bears and blankets. We educate our families when we do home visits, and we educate our families that having a safe environment, clear of clutter, having the baby sleeping on their backs, so therefore they can breathe properly. Director for the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children at the Morrisania Gotham Health Center, Teresa Landau, says in many cases, infant mortality is preventable. Landau stressed the importance of having available resources to Bronx parents and shares how new moms can protect their children.
One of the things you could do is if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, and if you have a child less than 5 years of age, you can join your local WIC program.
To learn more about the resources provided and upcoming events, visit the Bronx Healthy Start Partnership Instagram at BX Healthy Start. Reporting for BronxNet, Kevin Aline.
It looks bleak. It feels bleak. But the city isn't shut down because our public services keep working. In spite of, and in the face of, the dangers, we can count on them. And to keep them working and funded now and in the future, we need to be counted. Self-respond now to the 2020 census at my2020census.gov.
Welcome back. Our next guest is a Bronx creative, recently turned author and illustrator of Bronx Tones and Bronx Shapes, a bilingual children's book introducing youngsters to the shapes of the Bronx through photography. Joining us now to share more is Alex Rivera, also known as the Bronxer. Thank you for joining us, Alex. Hey. So for those who may not know you, you're all over the Bronx all the time, but some people may be tuning in that are not familiar. Can you tell us about yourself and your brand, The Bronxer?
So my name is Alex Rivera, and I reside in the Bronx, and I was born and raised here. So on top of that, I decided to kind of harness what art really is for me, which is being creative all the time and drawing and photography, and pretty much focus it on a company and a project that I call the Bronxer LLC today.
Thank you. So how has COVID-19 impacted you as a creative? Have you faced any challenges or changes to your work? How have you been getting through?
Pretty much at the beginning, towards March-ish, that point was oh man, nobody has money to spend because everybody's spending it on essentials, quote unquote. And in reality, I'm more of a luxury kind of category. People don't need photography, people don't need design, people need money and food. So pretty much if my audience or my clients have no money, then I don't have any money. So I was pretty much suffering, especially as a freelancer.
Yeah. But you still turn to the creative side and,
Oh, that's a fact. Yeah.
Social media, posting all your the posts and being engaging with your followers. So that leads me to our next point. First of all, congratulations on becoming a published author and illustrator from the Bronx, Dominican at that. More about your first book series, Bronx Tones and Bronx Shapes.
Yo, it was really dope. it started off with a play on a design that I wanted to do for myself personally called Bronx Tones in general. And what I would do is I would photograph like an image somewhere outside or inside, very candid, and I would choose a color from that image, and then I'll create my own color code or find a color code and put it on it and name it something relative to the Bronx or that area in general. And after a while, it kind of caught up. A couple people saw it, especially one of my favorite people saw it, which is Kokila Books Publishing and also Penguin Random House. Like those people were like, "Yo, we love your, we love your stuff. let's do something about it, but let's aim it towards kids." And I'm like, "All right, I'm down for that." So we kind of mended what Bronx Tone was and what children's learning should actually be, and I kind of pushed to that, and now we're here.
So the book is like a photography book, you're using your photography from the Bronx and you're illustrating how shapes can come out of this photography as well. Is that right?
Yes. It's mainly photography, a little bit of design. I mean, the design is not what really drives it. It's more of like, hey, you're from this area also. You're from this location. So you could relate as a child in the Bronx or anywhere else around the world that's related to the hood pretty much.
That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you what representation in publishing and media means to you as a Bronx-born Dominican creative.
What does it mean to me? I feel like everything. You're breathing just like your environment is. I think everybody's a product of their environment. So every time I see, I guess a halal truck or a bodega opening and closing, I feel it just like everybody else. I mean, I want everybody else to feel it just like I am. So that's why I create art, so people can see through my eyes.
And if you can elaborate on the importance of using your art and creativity to spread relevant messages and connect to other Bronxites through social media. Sometimes you use humor on social media. Also like the definition series that you've been doing. So just give us a little background on that.
Honestly, I want to inspire a lot of upcoming artists and artists in general, because if it wasn't for inspiration from somebody that looks like you, then I feel like the motivation isn't truly there. But every time that I push out, a cool photo and give it an actual proper caption or informative phrase behind it, people enjoy it. Like if I say something that's relative to you guys, like brick, nobody knows what brick means unless you're from New York.
It's brick outside right now.
It's cold. I had a friend that's from California, and they were like, "What are you talking about? Brick? A brick wall? A brownstone?" It was weird to them, but it was hilarious to me because they physically thought of something. But we look at things like, "Yo, you touch a brick in the cold. It's colder than the cold."
Pre-COVID, you actually had plans to collaborate with El Fogón Center for the Arts to help provide local artists a space to showcase their talents in person. Of course, things have changed because of the pandemic, but how has that plan shifted and what's to come from there in the future?
El Fogón is really dope. I mean, you could go in, you could enjoy, you could be an artist, you could meet new artists, you could flourish on your own in there, and you have pretty much no limits at all. But since this whole COVID situation, now nobody could go there and express their events. I had pretty much 2 art gallery show premieres happening there around that time, and we had to cancel them because of that. I was sad, but I'm pretty sure the artist that was about to have their first show ever is even sadder than I am. So I wanted that person to flourish. You create and you plan, but now you have to kind of double back and kind of do it again in a more careful state, because everybody's really sensitive in times like this, and also a strategic one because you also want to either A, make money, or B, be on a positive note with everybody else.
Right. That's true. Thanks for sharing. Now back to your book. Were you I guess influenced or I guess inspired by your own nephew? Because I know he's on the front cover of the book. So.
Oh, he doesn't even know what's coming for his future. It's like he has a cool uncle. But he's experiencing what I should have experienced at his age, but I didn't. So I experienced it later on. But at least you have a positive note. You have actual peers that are showing you what a kid's life should kind of feel like. without the distractions of, A or B parent going out and, only working and not really focusing on your dreams, right? So times like this, kids have fun because there's like less physical school and like more home time. But I mean, he's happy as hell. Like, he's like in front of a cover and he just doesn't know. Yeah.
I think it's dope. But what do you hope for the book, for the future of the book? Do you hope to have it in schools, in libraries, things of that nature?
Yeah. Oh yeah. All around the world, man. Like I think every kid should be accessible to books in general because those are things you could take with you. You don't have to charge it on a wall and wait for it to load. Like you open it and you go. Like, you know what I mean? It's like something that you get to learn, you get to cherish and grow off from. So that's the thing.
And what? How did you wind up doing it? Like, did you get in contact with? I mean, you said that the publisher actually reached out to you and said they love your work. But
yeah,
how did you get started? You hear the ice cream truck in the back?
Always.
We're in the Bronx. But how did you decide to delve into the world of publishing and
Yeah, Sarisia Fanel, which is the founder of The Bronx is Reading, finessed it all, man, in the most amazing way possible. She's like, hey, here's a chance and run with it. And that's what I did. She got me around a lot of cool people, and it was up to me to kind of like come up with my ideas and my work and show it in a presentable manner, because obviously one needs to have like ambition and talent, to do something in that genre. But she helped out a lot. She kept on pushing me a lot. She's from the Bronx. She's out here helping Bronx people. Like, so why not return the favor with being successful with something that you took your time to present to somebody else?
Shout out to The Bronx is Reading. Before we go, how long did it take? Did you do all this through COVID-19 or was it happening before the pandemic?
Yeah, all the way last year, July. So that's when I initially started like going and like meeting with each other, having meetings, emails back and forth. Like it was fluid though, because like we all understood each other. So like I didn't have a bad time doing it at all. It was more like how to like look at things, wait for things. And a lot of factories were closed. So basically due to COVID, a lot of things were slowed down. Like things got pushed back. I couldn't really do like a book celebration, like stuff like that. Like when we want people to do when something cool comes out.
Maybe something virtual. We could take advantage of this digital world that we're living in now.
Yeah, we should. I mean, we're going to see. I was speaking with Noel from the Lip Bar. We're going to see if we could put something together that hopefully everyone would enjoy.
We'll be on the lookout for that. Any next projects for the Bronxer? I know you're always on the move.
I'm moving towards actual wall murals and diving into my artist side or fine art side of my creative world. And I'll go around and just like paint walls all day and like have fun. Yeah.
I'll see you around.
Yeah.
So how can people purchase your book and stay connected with you online?
Barnes and Nobles has it. The Lit Bar has it. Penguin Random House, their website has it. Penguin Kids. And whatever other shops would have it. But a lot of publishing or not even publishers, just people that sell books would kind of have. I think the Boogie Down Grind is about to have it soon. Yeah, so they're pretty much everywhere. Yeah.
You heard that. You can find the book anywhere in the Bronx, online, wherever. It's called Bronx Tones and Bronx Shapes by author and illustrator Alex Rivera, aka The Bronxer. Thank you again for joining us today.
Hey. Yeah, nah, it was lit.
You can follow The Bronxer all over social media at The Bronxer. If you want to stay connected with him, you can also visit his website, thebronxer.com. That's all for our show today. Thank you for tuning in to BXRx. I'm your host, Sandie Lopez, wishing you and your family safety and wellness now and always.